Hey guys, it is Top 5 Wednesday time. If you are new to Top 5 Wednesday, it is a Goodreads group created by Sam from Thoughts on Tomes and Lainey from Ginger Reads Lainey, and is basically where you are given a topic and you name your top 5 for that topic, and of course it's book related. And this week's topic is your top 5 goals and resolutions for 2018, since it is the beginning of the new year. So most of my resolutions / goals are like reading more of some of certain genres. There's maybe a few goals that are more just doing something that I haven't done as far as what's concerned with my reading. Okay, and as always, these are in no particular order, so I'm just going to tell you what my top 5 are. My top 5 goals /resolutions. Okay, number 1, and if I shift over, I have the document pulled up because I like to write a Word document of the top 5, my top 5 list. Okay, so number 1 is I would like to continue. Oh, I kept that one. I thought I got rid of that one. Oh well. I'd like to continue to focus more on my books than my novel storytelling rather than like the screen. What's like TV shows and movies. I mean, I still love TV shows and movies, and I will still continuously watch them. Sorry, I'm sick. Yeah, it's really gross. But I feel like it's easier for me to remember what's in a movie or a TV show than in a book, because a book takes a little more time and patience. Even if you are really enjoying the book, it still takes time for you to read it. I mean, and it's just with a movie, you just pop it on the box in your Blu-ray machine, and you don't have to, and everything's given to you. What the characters look like, what the setting is. You don't have to exercise as much imagination. Not that, using your imagination is that hard, but you're given the narrative. You are given through the screen. And actually, what I usually do is when I have the movie version or TV show version, when I read the book, that's usually who I see. But it's easier to do that than to, crack open a book and, and just sit for hours. And, I mean, it still provides the same amount of enjoyment, but it does require a little more effort with a book. Not that that's hard. I mean, it depends on the person, of course, because there are some people who struggle with reading. And for those people, I would recommend reading a comic book, or at least trying to find something that interests you, like you are passionate about. And that's when you find that, then you will be a little bit easier to put in the effort to learn how to, get through the struggles if you have trouble with reading. But I feel bad because I feel like I love books, and I say, I tell people I love books and I read a lot, but then I feel like I don't remember, and maybe that's partly because I buy so many. So probably the easiest solution is to not buy so many, or at least don't read so many books at the same time. But maybe that's not the problem. I don't know, but I definitely want to try to be better at focusing on my books, and that's what Goodreads and being on here on BookTube, that really does help me a lot to focus on the books I'm reading, to really pay attention to the details and remember them more thoroughly. So that's my first goal, to just focus more on what I'm reading instead of just focusing on what I'm viewing on the screen, on on the small screen or the big screen. Okay, goal number 2, or resolution number 2, is to continue to go through my Stephen King library. Like, surprisingly, I like Stephen King. I love Stephen King, but I feel like I haven't read enough of Stephen King. Like, I've read Salem's Lot. I read Carrie back in, I think that was in 2015 when I read Carrie. I read Salem's Lot. I've read it. It was actually the first book of Stephen King's I think I read, which is surprising because of how big that book is. But it's one of the first books that I got through that is over 100 pages long, over 500 pages long. That one is like in the thousands mark. That one, and then Gone with the Wind. And then Scarlet after that. And then, I never realized that I never thought about it, but as the books like Harry Potter continue to go on, they get longer and longer. And they're more than 500 pages. The same thing with Sarah J. Maas. Her books get really long as the series progresses. And let's see what else I read. This actually isn't a Stephen King novel, but it goes with one of the screenplays he wrote, the Rose Red. Rose Red, My Life at Rose Red, The Diary of Ellen Rimbauer. That's not written by him. That's written by Ridley Pearson. I think he's the guy. He wrote something that was Peter Pan related. Like those Peter Pan and the Starcatcher series. One of those, I think. And Mr. King asked him to write a book that went with his screenplay, Rose Red. Let's see, what else have I read? And the first 3 books of the Dark Tower series. But there's so much time in between my reading of each book that I don't remember all the stuff. Because he's such a dense writer, and there's so much in there. Not that I'm not interested in the series, but just so much in the series that, and I put so much time in between each book that I don't remember this kind of stuff. And that's a habit, that's one of my worst reading habits that I need to break, is putting time in between the next book in the series. And I think that kind of started with that. It would take me a long time to get the next book in the series after I read the one before it. So it would take me quite a while before I can obtain a copy of the book. And then, then that means that there's a lot of time in between before I finally get to read the next book. And then I don't always like the books that I buy, I don't like to read them right away. So, but I've read The Dark Tower. So I've read the first 3 books of the Dark Tower series. I'm in the middle of Wizard and Glass, the 4th book. And I already have Wolves of Calla, the 5th book. Unfortunately, the 6th book is no longer at the used bookstore in town, so I'll have to check Books A Million, but that's in driving distance, and I cannot drive. And it's not an age thing. It's actually, I'm legally able to drive. I'm 28, but it's fine. All my disabilities involve me not being able to drive. So I have to rely on my parents or like a friend. So I have The Shining. I want to read that one, and I bought The Talisman for like 53 cents at my sister's library. They had a library sale. So I'm going to read those. I'm just going to continue to build the collection and read more of his books. Like, I remember I did ask for one of his books for Christmas, but I didn't get that one. I only got 2 books for Christmas, which is fine. But I want to continue reading more of his books and getting more into them. And I read The Dark Half. I do not have The Dark Half, but I did read it. I borrowed it from the library. And I read that one. And I've seen a lot of the movies that are based on his books. Like, I have the Tommyknockers on DVD. I have Storm of the Century on DVD. Rose Red is one of my favorite horror films. So yeah, I want to just continue to read more Stephen King and get more into him because he's a great writer, and when I do read him, I really like. At the moment when I'm reading him, I really enjoy it. I really find it fascinating, especially how he looks at characters. The only downside is that he's not very good at endings, and he admitted that. I think on the commentary for It, the miniseries, the 1999 one, that the problem with endings is that in horror films, once you see the monster, if it's a monster horror movie, then it kind of ruins it. It's not as scary anymore. Like, the scariest monsters are the ones that you can't see. And that they don't take a cognitive, physical form. And I agree. I agree with him that that a lot of times the monsters are more scary when you can't see them. Okay, so that was goal number 2. Goal number 3 I have here is I want to read more classics. I just put all these together. I want to read more classics, more literary fiction, and I think the next one I have on here, I can't see it. And more big books, like books that are over 500 pages. So I want to get more into classics. I've read some in 2017. Like some of them were rereads. Like I read The Bell Jar. I read Catcher in the Rye. That was a reread. I read The Great Gatsby. I read Peter Pan. I read Jane Eyre. That was a reread. I read A Separate Piece. Let's see. I think that's all of them. I think that's all the classics I read this year. Oh, and Sense and Sensibility. I read that one. So I've read a handful of classics. Did I say Peter Pan? I think I said Peter Pan. I don't remember. Sorry about my voice, guys. Like I said, I'm sick. So luckily I didn't sneeze during work, thankfully. But I did sneeze right after work. Like I was in the break room getting my stuff when it happened. But that's okay. I mean, it was afterward, so it's good. And I had tissues, if it did happen during work. But I mean, it was just a cold, so I wasn't sick enough to where I would miss work. I just gotta pray I don't sneeze, and then when I do, just make sure I turn away because I work at a grocery store. So not only are you dealing with people, not only are you surrounded by people, but you are surrounded by food. So that's the last thing you want is not only the sneezing on them, but sneezing on their food. But luckily that did not happen. I mean, but I know to turn. I mean, obviously I know to turn away, but I had to blow my nose quite a few times. And as you can see, I'm still sniffly. But I don't know, I've never been able to master the blowing the nose thing. But I've gotten better on it. I've gotten better at it. But anyway, okay, so like I said, I want to read more classics. I've read a handful this year. I mean, not this year, back in 2017. So I want to read more. Some of them will be rereads. Like I'm going to reread Fahrenheit 451. I'm going to read 1984. I need to read another Jane Austen one. And I would like to read another Bronte one. And I also have a collection of Steinbeck. I have his 2 big novels and then his 2 shorter, and a collection of his shorter novels. So I'm going to reread Of Mice and Men, see if I like it now that I'm older and more mature. And I have East of Eden and Grapes of Wrath. And then, like I said, the Of Mice and Men is in a collection. And let's see. And then, like I said, I want to read more literary works. Like, I like Donna Tartt so far on what I read. I've read a lot of The Secret History. I read that, and I want to finish that one, and continue reading that one to finish it. And then I bought The Goldfinch. And then there's a couple other literary works that I want to read. And that, and then like I say, I want to read more big books. Like I read them, but they take me so long to read. And it doesn't help that I have so many other books to tempt me to read that I'll get through a lot faster. So I definitely, I still gotta continue, I gotta continue with the Outlander series. I gotta read Voyager. And I gotta read, Stephen King writes pretty long books, too. Not all of his books are that long, but, Wizard and Glass is a long one. And then I gotta read Mistborn, which my friend got me back in 2016 for Christmas present. I still have not read it. I think it was 2016 she got it. Yeah. 2016 is when she got it for me, and I still have not read it. I've attempted to start it, but let's see what else. And well, there are a lot of books I've neglected that I need to read that are over 500 pages. But like I said, I have so many other books that are not as long that tempt me, are calling to me to read them. So it's hard for me to focus on, because I think I have to devote my entire attention to books that are 500 pages or more. So those are those. And then let's see, that was number 3. Number 4. I want to get into audiobooks, and let's see, what's the other one I said? Audiobooks and nonfiction. I only have one audiobook, and that is Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter, the 5th book in the Harry Potter series. I used to have the 4th one on back when we still had back when cassette tapes were still in existence. So I had the 4th book on cassette tape. But then, of course, we no longer use cassette tapes, so I don't have it anymore. But I would like to definitely, and although now with Harry Potter, I kind of want to get the one read by, what is his name? Comedian / actor, I can't remember. What is his name? Stephen Fry's version. I want to get that one for Harry Potter. But, that my mom would probably tell me that if you're going to get the audiobooks, then you don't need to keep the books. But then I feel nostalgic. But I feel very nostalgia about the books because those are I have the first original American editions of the Harry Potter books when they first got published. So I would feel I wouldn't want to get rid of them. But I still kind of want the Stephen Fry version reading of the Harry Potter books. Because, although what I would really love to have is a full cast of actors reading it. But I know I won't get that. I don't know if it even exists. If there's even a Harry Potter reading that's like that has a full cast of actors. But I do want to get more into audiobooks and read more. I believe that our library does carry audiobooks. I don't know if it's, I don't know if there's any that's any Harry Potter or anything like that, but I'll have to check it out the next time I go there. But because I've been kind of taking a break from the library for a little while, because there were so many books of, sorry, my arm is itching. I hope that doesn't mean that stupid reaction I had is coming back. I don't know, just like a bug bite or something. But I've had, what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So I've tried to take a break from it because I've neglected my personal library, because I have a 2-week period where where I can keep the books from the library and then I return them. Now I know I can check them out, of course. I can recheck them out, of course. And luckily for me, I think I check out books that aren't super popular. So I've never had any people, there's never been a line of people that want to borrow the books that I currently have checked out from the library. But it came to my attention that I was neglecting all my other books because I kept checking out like several library books at a time. So I've taken a break from the library. I'm gonna eventually go back to utilizing that place, but not right now. I don't know when. But the good news is it's in walking distance, so I don't have much of an excuse to not go either way. Because in my old hometown, it was in driving distance, and like I said, I can't drive. But it was a bigger selection, though, that's for sure, than this one. This one doesn't even have an upstairs. It's one floor. And it has a lot of mystery. I mean, I guess when you retire, you really like mystery. And it has a lot of, like, it doesn't have a lot of the mainstream popular authors. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, the YA section is kind of small. Because it was the kids section. But, sorry, again, I just start to get itchy. But yeah, they do have I do believe they have audiobooks in there, so I want to read more audiobooks. And the other part of that is I want to get more into nonfiction. That actually, I mean, this year I read a few nonfiction. I read Braid on Fire, My Month of Madness, which is about it's a woman's memoir on her experience of where for a month she kind of went a little nuts. Something was wrong in her brain. All of a sudden messed up or something. And she was just something. So it's about her experiences and how her family handled it. And then I read Freaks, Geeks, and Asperger's Syndrome, A Guide to Adolescence, which is a disorder on the autism spectrum. It's like a high-functioning version of autism, I believe. And for a while, we considered I might have it. As I've said before, I still am not sure if I have it or don't have it, because there are some traits of Asperger's people with it that I exhibit, and then there's a lot of traits that I don't exhibit that are for Aspies. But this is from the memoir was from, well, actually it wasn't really a memoir. But it was, this boy was he was 13 at the time when he published it, and he's just explaining how Asperger's works and the traits of people with it, and how you can learn to cope with it and deal with it, and how you're supposed to treat people with Asperger's, and how you can understand them better. And then, so I read that one, and that one was really good, a good starting point, and I think that boy is my age, so I think now he will be 28, and I'm kind of curious where he is now, like how he's doing and stuff, and did he use some of the things he mentioned for relationships, like dating and stuff, because he was only 13 when he published the book, and he had to get advice from his sisters on what's right for older people. Now, the only downside is it's from a 13-year-old boy's perspective, so he doesn't have the science and the medical knowledge, and he also is a boy. He's not a girl. And for girls, it's different. So, but it's a good starting point, and it gives you the basics. And let's see. And I started back in 2015. I started reading John Adams by David McCullough. Now that unfortunately is my brother-in-law's copy, so I will have to get it back to him at some point. And then my dad has 1776, also by David McCullough. So but I did not I've only read part of the John Adams one. I need to get back into that. And I've read Chaplin, the autobiography about Charlie Chaplin. Now I was introduced to Chaplin through Robert Downey Jr., who played him in the movie that book is based off of. The movie that the book is, where the movie that the book is based off of, or the I'm sorry, I'm getting all tongue tied here. The the book that inspired the movie, that movie, with RDJ as Chaplin. Like, I had back in 2008 when Tropic Thunder came out, which is a Ben Stiller comedy. Actually, it's kind of a parody comedy about like the business of Hollywood. And it's like these group of guys that are making this Vietnam War movie, but the director's having a hard time controlling them. He's a new director and everything. And so the actor who wrote the book that their movie is based on, he suggests, you need to send these boys into the real jungle and see how they survive, and that's where you can get a real gritty reaction, the real not just actors playing around, but so they get sent to the jungle. And the problem is all these actors are so full of themselves, and at one point the director, and even before they start, the director gets blown up. But the one action star played by Ben Stiller, he's a little delusional, and he doesn't believe that their director got blown up for real. And he's playing on, he's butting heads with RDJ's character, who is this Australian actor, method actor, who is playing a black character. So he goes through the whole method, he does blackface and stuff. And he does a surprisingly really good job. Of course, I'm a white girl, so I don't know, but from the actual black actor in the movie, Brandon T. Jackson, I remember him saying in behind the scenes that RDJ did a really good job. And Brandon's mother came on the set. I think I'm remembering this correctly. I don't know. And she believed that Robert Downey Jr. was a black man. But he's they tried to be as respectful as possible, but still make it really funny. And then, Brandon T is this rapper that's, trying to expand his horizons. And his character in the movie, the rapper is Alpa, his name's Al Pacino, is offended by, Robert Downey Jr.'s character because he's, going all black mode. And then you have Jack Black, who is a guy who does this comedy franchise known as the Fatties, and they're known for their family that farts a lot. It's kind of based off of the Eddie Murphy movie, a little bit. I think, the Clumps, the Nutty Professor. Let's see. And so it's a really funny movie. It's basically parodies the whole the business of Hollywood and the lengths that the actors will go and how ridiculous they can sometimes be. But anyway, the point of my bringing that up is I was bringing up RDJ because he played Chaplin. So that's the reason I read the Chaplin autobiography. And I even have a collection of Chaplin's movies, which I still have not watched. I watched one of the disc. But because it's a black and white and silent, they're silent black and white movies, so it's hard for me to get into them. And then let's see. What? And okay, so I want to read so I read that one. I started Amelia a Legend in Aviation, but I've since not continued that book, but I do want to continue it. I've taken a really long break from it, but I'm definitely going to come back to it. And I want to get the book that Julie Andrews wrote, a memoir of my early years. I want to get that one. It's Julie Andrews. It's Julie Edwards Andrews. So she added her married name into her. So if you're interested, and then Christopher Plummer wrote a memoir as well. In Spite of Myself. I want to read that one. Although it looks like I would have to get that one online anyway. So I want to get those two because I am a huge fan of Sound of Music, I do a whole gush video about Sound of Music, and so I'm kind of curious. I want to read their memoirs, learn about them. And there's and I also want to read Mara Wilson's "Where Am I Now" memoir. She is a child actress that I grew up with. She was in Miss Doubtfire, A Simple Wish. There was actually she did a Thomas movie when she was a little older. Something Magic, I think. And then let's see, like Shiny Time Station. That was what the original. My sister reminded me of that. Well, I was the first one who said, "Oh, I remember when I grew up watching Thomas, and it would focus more on the real life train station, and then it would go into the whole Thomas. But now, Shiny Time Station doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it still exists, but it's now Thomas and Friends, so it focuses more on Thomas. But anyway." And then she was in, let's see, I'm trying to think of what else she did. Oh, Miracle on 34th Street. She's the little girl in that one. Oh, and Matilda. So she was someone I grew up with, and I definitely want to read her biography and find out what's going on with her and where is she now, like the title suggests. So yeah, there are a few, and there's a Walt Disney one biography I want to check out as well. So there are a handful of nonfictions I want to read. I definitely want to get more into it, basically. Okay, so enough rambling about that one, about number 4. So my last one is I like to read more novellas and short stories. So I have quite a few. I have Stars Above from the Lunar Chronicles, and I did read that one this year. Oh, another nonfiction I read was The Hauntings of Williamsburg, Jamestown, New York. Yorktown and Jamestown, which is about, all the basically the hauntings of those of Virginia. All the different, because a lot of people died in Virginia, like because of the war, because the American Revolution and the Civil War. So I read that one because my sister went to school in Virginia, so at William and Mary to be more specific. So anyway, okay, so that was another nonfiction I read this year. I've read Stars Above. I started reading I've read The Longlers from 4 Past Midnight years ago. And I really like that one. That's a Stephen King novella. And I started reading Secret Garden, Secret Window. Because I've seen the movie of that one, which is called Secret Window. They couldn't use the Secret Garden because there's already a movie called Secret Garden based off of the book by Frances Hodgins and Burnett. So because they couldn't use that part of the title, so they just called it Secret Window. And then I've read, but I haven't continued reading Secret Window. But the problem is there are some that are like really novellas. I mean, to the point of length, like they're really long. And I mean, what I liked about Stars Above, it wasn't the chapters weren't all the stories weren't always that long. Each section in the story wasn't super long. It was and then let's see. I also want to read. My sister years ago, she got me interested in Kelly Link, who writes a lot of magical realism stories. So I want to continue reading my 2 books of hers that are novellas. And I also have the Bane Chronicles, and I've read one of the stories in that one. And then I just got Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, which is about Simon Lewis from the Mortal Instruments. So I want to read more of those. I want to get more into them, and I want to focus, because they're not as long as novels, but they're not short. They're not super short either, and they're just another part of the story of the original series. So I want to read those, and then I know that Sarah J. Maas is also writing all of the next several books that she's writing. I think are supposed to be novellas, so I'll definitely be reading those. Although I wonder if she's gonna put them into bind-ups eventually. I mean, I'm assuming so. That it's gonna be in a bind. They're eventually gonna be in a bind-up. But that was my last one. I want to read more novellas. I haven't, the only one I've read and completed is Stars Above. So I want to read more of those. So what are your goals / resolutions for 2018? I will, like I said, when I'm done, I will post the link to the group, the Goodreads group. So if you are interested in doing this one or any other topics on there, you can do it. And if you just want, or you can do it just for fun, or or you can just share with me on here on the comments section. What are your reading goals and resolutions? Whether you want to do the top 5 Wednesday or not. I hope you can understand me while I was, and I hope you don't mind my rambling too much. And I will talk to you guys later. Alright, bye.